Britain's trucking industry is on the brink of collapse. A staggering shortage of 60,000 drivers is crippling supply chains, while operators are slapped with hefty daily charges just to enter city centres. Despite starting salaries over £40,000, qualified drivers are walking away, opting for less stressful careers as instructors. Meanwhile, hidden crises like mental health struggles and soaring fuel costs are threatening the backbone of British logistics. This is the untold story of the challenges reshaping the future of trucking in the UK. As of 2025, the UK continues to face a severe shortage of approximately 60,000 HGV drivers, with employment levels still stuck at pre-2019 figures. While vacancies have decreased from 43% in late 2021 to 23% in 2023, the shortage remains critical for operators striving to meet demand, particularly during peak periods like Christmas. An alarming 55% of HGV drivers are aged between 50 and 65, with an average age of 51, meaning a large portion of the workforce is nearing retirement. Meanwhile, fewer than 2% of drivers are under 25, creating a worrying demographic gap that will only worsen as older drivers leave the industry. Brexit and the COVID-19 pandemic further worsened the situation. With the loss of EU drivers and a backlog of 30,000 new driver tests exacerbating the crisis, the negative perception of truck driving as a low-skill, low-status occupation contributes to the difficulty in recruiting young drivers. The government's classification of HGV drivers as unskilled has deterred many potential candidates, particularly those without family ties to the industry. This perception continues to undermine recruitment efforts and hampers the long-term sustainability of the sector. As these challenges persist, the UK trucking industry faces a critical need for reform to attract and retain a new generation of drivers. Starting salaries for HGV drivers now often exceed £40,000, and improved working conditions show the industry's commitment to attracting new entrants. The average hourly wage for a truck driver in the UK in 2025 stands at £16.93, with weekly earnings of approximately £751 and monthly salaries averaging around £2,905, translating to an annual figure of £41,031. Yet compensation alone fails to solve retention problems. Of the 72.5% of truckers surveyed by Snap who did not believe in the driver shortage, 28% admitted that low pay did not incentivise new applicants to join the industry. One driver responded, "I have an HGV licence but no desire to use it. I currently earn more per hour as a driving instructor. It's not a driver shortage at all." Another stated, "Pay the drivers more money and give them better facilities. The role is known for long working hours, poor roadside facilities, demanding work conditions and comparatively low salaries. These factors create an environment where qualified individuals choose alternative careers despite possessing the necessary licences. The industry faces not merely a shortage of qualified drivers, but a retention crisis driven by working conditions that fail to match driver expectations. According to industry reports, the country faced a shortage of around 100,000 HGV drivers at the height of the crisis in 2021, representing a significant increase from the 59,000 driver shortage reported in 2019. While conditions have improved, the underlying structural issues persist. The European Union ratified revised CO2 standards for heavy-duty vehicles in 2024, establishing ambitious reduction targets. The regulation establishes a 45% emissions reduction from 2030, increased from the previous 30% target, with targets applying to medium lorries, heavy trucks weighing over 7.5 tonnes and coaches, as well as to corresponding vocational vehicles from 2035 onwards. The new rules introduce a 100% zero emission target for new urban buses by 2035, with an intermediate target of 90% for this category by 2030. Clean air zones now in effect in cities such as Sheffield subject HGVs and other commercial vehicles entering these areas to daily charges unless exempt, with HGVs facing fees of around £50 per day in some zones, while light goods vehicles may pay £10 daily. These charges represent substantial additional operating costs for companies running regular urban routes. The Department for Transport has allowed longer semi-trailers up to 18.55 metres on UK roads to reduce emissions and congestion by optimising load capacity. While this initiative promises efficiency gains, operators must retrain drivers and reconsider route planning to accommodate the increased trailer length. The transition to electric trucks faces substantial infrastructure limitations. Currently, public charging infrastructure for commercial electric vehicles is severely limited in the UK, with less than 5 dedicated charging locations nationwide. This scarcity creates significant operational constraints for companies considering electric vehicle adoption. Motorway service operator Moto plans to open 15 charging super hubs by the end of 2027, with more on the way by 2030. And once the network is fully open, there are plans for more than 300 dedicated charge points for commercial HGVs. However, this timeline leaves operators facing years of infrastructure gaps while emissions regulations tighten. The lack of infrastructure is partly fueling a drop in demand for electric HGVs, which fell by 7.3% in 2023-2024. Companies hesitate to invest in electric vehicles when charging availability remains uncertain, creating a circular problem where infrastructure development depends on vehicle adoption and vice versa. As of 1st January 2025, there were 73,334 public electric vehicle charging devices installed in the UK. While this represents growth, the vast majority of these devices serve passenger vehicles rather than heavy goods vehicles. As of 1st October 2025, there were 86,021 public electric vehicle charging devices in the UK, with 17,356 charging devices rated 50 kA and above, accounting for 20% of all charging devices. Fuel costs represent one of the largest operating expenses for trucking companies, and price fluctuations directly impact profitability. As of January 2025, petrol prices increased by 2 pence per litre, reaching an average of 139 pence, up from 136.9 pence at the start of the year, while diesel saw a more significant rise of nearly 3 pence per litre, averaging 145.7 pence, compared to 142.9 pence previously. This marks the 4th consecutive month of price hikes, resulting in a cumulative increase of 5 pence per litre for petrol and 6 pence for diesel since October 2024. RayC Head of Policy Simon Williams stated, "It's not been a good start to 2025 for drivers at the pumps, with prices going up for the 4th month in a row. Sadly, filling up is now nearly £3 more expensive than it was at the start of October. As of October 2025, average UK petrol prices were around £1.35 per litre, while diesel averaged £1.43 per litre. These prices remain well below the peaks of more than £1.80 per litre seen in 2022, though still higher than pre-pandemic levels of 125.5 pence per litre for petrol and 130.7 pence per litre for diesel. Supermarket fuel margins increased from 7.0% to 8.1% between May and August 2024, with retailers increased fuel margins at a historically high level. This development suggests that price decreases may not reach consumers and operators as quickly as increases, creating asymmetric cost pressures. The psychological toll on truck drivers represents a hidden but substantial challenge affecting retention and safety. In a trucking mental health disorders survey, almost 28% of truckers reported suffering from loneliness on the road, while 27% reported depression, 21% reported chronic sleep disturbances, 14.5% reported anxiety, and 13% reported other emotional difficulties. Truck drivers face a heightened risk of suicide, ranking 5th on the list of highest risk occupations for work-related suicide. The isolation, loneliness, stress, and demanding schedules inherent to the job contribute to this elevated risk, making suicide prevention a critical issue within the industry. Long-haul truck drivers who spent more than 20 nights per month away from home were at a higher risk of developing depression and sleep disorders, according to a study published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. Extended periods away from family and support systems exacerbate feelings of isolation and disconnect. Physical health issues compound mental health challenges. Professional truck drivers work in stressful conditions that favour unhealthy lifestyles and medical disorders, with their overall health, and especially their mental health, often worse than the general population as a consequence of long driving shifts, disrupted sleep patterns, chronic fatigue, social isolation, compelling service duties, delivery urgency, job strain, low rewards, and unsystematic medical control. The Road Haulage Association estimates there's a current shortage of 11,000 parking spaces across the country, and drivers have long been telling them that it's not just the quantity of spaces, but the quality of facilities that needs addressing. Poor roadside facilities force drivers to rest in insecure locations, adding stress and compromising their ability to recover properly during mandatory breaks. The trucking industry faces pressure to adopt digital systems for fleet management, route optimization, and compliance monitoring. Large operators can invest in comprehensive technology platforms, but smaller companies struggle with implementation costs and complexity. This creates a competitive disadvantage for smaller firms operating with traditional methods. Digital tachographs, telematic systems, and electronic logging devices generate substantial data that operators must manage and interpret. Companies lacking technical expertise find themselves overwhelmed by information without clear pathways to translate data into operational improvements. According to the Office for National Statistics, there are more than 183,000 HGV driving jobs in the UK, but each region has different job opportunities, resulting in an unequal demand across the UK. This geographic imbalance means that some areas face acute driver shortages, while others experience relative stability. Northern Ireland remains the cheapest place in the UK to buy fuel, with average unleaded petrol at approximately 128 pence per litre and diesel at around 134 pence as of mid-August 2025. In August 2025, drivers in the southeast paid an average of 144.1 pence per litre for diesel and 137.8 pence per litre for petrol. These regional variations create operational complexity for companies running routes across different areas. Infrastructure development proceeds unevenly across regions. Greater London possesses substantially more charging points and better facilities than rural areas, creating advantages for operators based in or near major urban centres, while disadvantaging those serving more remote locations. The British trucking industry operates under unprecedented strain from converging challenges that demand immediate attention and coordinated solutions. Driver shortages, environmental regulations, infrastructure gaps, fuel cost volatility, and workforce well-being issues combine to create an environment where operators must navigate constant adaptation while maintaining service reliability.